Hey, Christy.
Hi, Paul.
Hey. I just got a new Mozart. Why don't you come over to my place and let me play it for you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. I'm busy.
Well, maybe some other time.
Maybe.
Okay. How you been?
Fine. How about you?
Hey, Paul. How you doing? Hey, Greg.
Hi. Bye, Paul.
Hey, how you doing, Paul? Bye. Got yourself an Yeah, check this out. Mozart. What the hell's a Mozart? Gotta go. See you later.
Everything is ready, my darling. Do not be afraid. Soon we'll be together again.
This sandwich tastes as dry as hell.
L-O-L-L-I-P-O-P spells lollipop.
Why don't you just go hand out parking tickets and leave me alone? Stick to something you know about.
Listen, my daughter was about your age. Then she met a guy like you. Now she's dead.
You should believe in ghosts, P-Brain.
He's a closet! Don't hurt me, please! Don't keep me waiting for those onions, Hermit!
This is all the whiskey you possess?
Everyone out of the way of the bulldozer!
Hello, and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I am Richard.
I am Brad.
Folks, it is with great esteemed pleasure to announce that Hello, This is the Doom Show is not just a podcast anymore. We're also a part of the fine library of Time Life books.
Ugh, amazing.
For just $195 for the first minute, you can hold the book and then turn pages each additional minute for 50 cents.
What a value.
Well, the know-how you can count on is right on your shelf. Don't pay some guy to help you out. Do the job yourself. You can do it easy. Sure does pay. With Time Life books, you've got it made.
Folks, it's 1983 up in this podcast because we're talking about Mortuary from the year I just mentioned, 1983. But this is important because it's a listener request. Our good friend and listener, Mark, contributed to the show, and he's said, talk about Mortuary or die, or diet. I wasn't sure. The email is kind of garbled.
He has great taste in movies, questionable taste in podcasts, great taste in movies.
He's what we call in the industry an enabler, so shame on you, Mark.
What an incredible thing Mark did by donating to the show.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. We've spoken in the emails. Very, very, very nice guy.
I don't use emails anymore. I only communicate with TikTok videos.
Is that like, has that got something to do with, shit. Rick Astley?
Yep.
I knew it.
He is the founder of TikTok.
It would have worked a lot better had I been able to remember the name Rick Astley,
hey,
but I'm over 40 years old now.
I'm going to edit. It'll sound like you remembered it.
It'll sound like I rickrolled myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, quick as a whip, Brad. That's what we call you. Lickety-split.
Lickety-split.
So, Mortuary is directed by someone named Howard Avedis. Or Avedis, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that name. He was actually born in Iraq, in Baghdad, and he did a slew of exploitation films. Luckily, he did a frickin' horror film called Mortuary.
Right.
But he wrote this, he co-wrote this with someone named Marlene Schmidt, no relation to yours truly.
You don't know that.
Lietta looked at the screen when I had Marlene Schmidt up, and she's like, is that your aunt? And I was like, I don't actually know. Marlene is a German lady who worked with and was briefly married to Mr. Avedis. And they worked on such films as The Fifth Floor and They're Playing with Fire, Kidnapped, and something called Scorchy.
interesting is that I recently watched They're Playing with Fire again.
Ooh.
Before we watched Mortuary, and I did not realize they were the same director until I started doing some digging. Alvy Moore, who plays the main character's father in Mortuary, he was also in They're Playing with Fire.
Oh.
And he was on Green Acres. That's how we know him. He's from Green Acres. But Elizabeth said he was just in something we watched, and we thought about it, and it was They're Playing with Fire. And then later I discovered that this Howard Avitas character directed both. Have you seen They're Playing with Fire?
No, I know of it. I've not seen it.
It's sort of a drama that turns into a slasher film in the last quarter of the film.
Ooh.
It's worth a watch. It's got Sybil Danning in it, as well as the first kid from Mama's Family. And I'm sure you recall because we did that whole series on Mama's Family. But in the first season or two, when it was a network show, there were two dark-headed kids that were her grandchildren before it went syndicated, and Bubba was the grandson who is the D-bag named Brad in Night of the Creeps. But the kid that's in the first series, it might have been first two seasons, I can't remember, but he's in that. But actually, it's worth a watch. It's weird because it's sort of this drama, not really even much of a thriller, really, kind of, sort of, and then just turns into a slasher film in the last quarter of it.
Wow.
But it's same director.
Nice. Marlene Schmidt is also an actress in this movie, and she plays Alvy Moore's wife. So she plays Greg. So look at that. They couldn't stay out of it. I did find a couple trailers for this bad boy. You pointed out to me that this was famous for having a person in the trailer that has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. So one of the trailers has Michael Berryman of The Hills Have Eyes fame. And the other trailer is, he's not in it.
No, the first trailer features something that I want to discuss a little more in depth once we get into the plot.
All right. I like it. So here's a trailer. Or two. Meow.
I just want to touch you. Please, open the window. The window. Resting. Oh, beautiful.
Mortuary, where nobody rests in peace. This is the warehouse where the newly dead are embalmed but not always buried. A storehouse of terror and atrocity.
Hey, Greg!
Mortuary, what better place to communicate with the dead?
Things are troubling. Your wife and your daughter, you died in an accident in a swimming pool. It wasn't an accident. George, come back.
Daddy! Daddy! No! Daddy! Daddy! Daddy!
Sleep doesn't bring peace to this girl. Is it a close encounter with death? The sleepwalking trance of the disturbed. The innocent made to feel guilty. Stalked by the unknown. Nocturnal terror. Death lurking in the dark. There's no way out when you're only moments away from Mortuary, where nobody rests in peace. Starring Mary McDonough, Lynda Day George, Christopher George.
Have you decided yet? Or would you rather be cremated instead of buried?
My father was murdered in that pool. I know it. You're probably glad he's dead because of...
The frightened bride of raw terror.
Give me the axe.
A killer's fury. And at just the point where the comfort of home offers an apparent sanctuary. Just when you think you're safe. Just when help is only a phone call away. Mortuary, where nobody rests in peace.
Let's get the hell out of here.
I found that this was released on good old reliable Vestron video back in the day. Love Vestron. VHS collectors. You know it. You love it. I don't have to go into it. Also, I'm lazy.
Gotcha.
But here's the plot synopsis of Mortuary on the back of the VHS. And of course, folks, spoilers. If you haven't seen Mortuary, go watch it. Come back and listen to us talk about it. I know this is a new concept for a lot of people, a podcast that is about movies. So thank you for being here in this groundbreaking moment. We're setting the world afire by being original. So
there you go.
Real-life husband and wife, Lynda Day George from TV's Mission Impossible, and Christopher George, the Immortal, and Pieces, star in this chilling tale of horror-filled nightmares that comes startlingly close to reality. Christy Parson has been having terrifying nightmares ever since her father, Dr. Parson, drowned in the family swimming pool. She knows his death was not an accident, but no one will believe her until her boyfriend, Greg Stevens, sees the hooded figures that Christy describes in her dreams in the town's mortuary. Greg's and Christy's curiosity plummets them into a series of bizarre and terror-filled circumstances, leading them to the ghastly truth behind her father's so-called accidental death. Mortuary, where nightmares become reality. And the tagline, Mortuary, where nobody rests in peace. Oh, wow.
Dang.
Man, that's good copy right there, folks.
I'm telling you.
Good on you, Vestron. Oh, brother. We're going to go through this plot. I wrote way too many notes because that is what I was put on this earth to do.
And do it well, you do.
Oh, thank you. We get a Hickmar Productions Incorporated. They present Mortuary. Hickmar?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where that name comes from, but I like it.
Well, I've got some ideas. Carry on.
Oh, it's from the Carry On films.
It's Carry On.
I knew it. Oh, of course, it was Mr. Avidis' company. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway.
If I remember correctly, he also directed The Teacher, which is something that I have not seen.
Yes.
I think he was credited then as Hikmet Avidis, Hikmet, and I wonder if that's not got to do with it. He wasn't in his early films, The Specialist, The Teacher, The Stepmother. So I wonder if that's got something to do with it.
Is The Teacher the one? Yeah, The Teacher's the one that's in all those drive-in cult classic movie collections.
Yeah, and I read that it's an erotic suspense thriller, and I did not realize that either.
Wow.
We got our homework cut out for us.
And I gotta say, Scorchy looks amazing. Plus, it was 1976, as you know, that's my weakness. 1976 movies, y'all.
That's your jam.
So we get a soft-focus swimming pool, this idyllic seaside house. Yeah, while this dude is just chilling out, having a cigarette by the pool. A slow-motion ne'er-do-well with a slow-motion baseball bat slow-motionally attacks this guy, knocks him across the cranium, he goes flying in the pool. All of this happens in slow motion. We hear someone scream, "Daddy!" And a young lady runs out to the balcony overlooking the pool, and this young lady is Mary Beth McDonough. She plays Christy Parson. Mary Beth McDonough, she's in a movie that's coming up on a Doom show pretty soon.
Really? What is it?
Yeah, she was in Midnight Offerings.
Wow.
Yeah, she was a Walton's person.
She was a Walton.
Yep, she was Erin Walton, which was also known as Kryptonite for Richard when I was a kid.
She is the best looking of the Walton girls.
She's very beautiful. We cut to, after this startling opening to the film, we cut to two dude bros in a van. They pull up to an old warehouse. We've got Greg and Josh. Josh is not going to make it through this scene. But Greg is played by David Wysocki. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. If he looks familiar to y'all horror people, it's because he was in a movie I love that gets very little love called Humongous from the year before this one. I remember the only thing I knew about Humongous was that everyone hated it because it was too dark. So when the DVD came out, I was like, all right. And then people still didn't like it. And I was like, but it's great. I don't understand.
Yeah, I like Humongous.
Yay.
It's very much a Friday the 13th Part 2 compatriot or...
ripoff.
Well, maybe.
They inspired one another. But Josh is played by Dennis Mandel. I always make this joke whenever someone's named Mandel, that he's definitely Howie Mandel's brother, but he's not. I didn't know Mandel was such a common name.
I don't know that it is.
Yeah. But he was just a TV actor, did a few little things. But they are running around. Josh wants Greg to help him steal tires in this warehouse. He's trying to do Greg a favor by stealing these tires from his boss, Mr. Andrews, who we're gonna talk all kinds about Mr. Andrews in a minute. But he's doing the chicken sounds. He's doing the bok 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 to get Greg to come in the building with him, and Greg calls him a turkey.
Isn't that funny? I thought that was so funny. He was making chicken sounds. And he's like, "All right, you turkey." I thought that was classic.
I'll wait here. All right, you turkey.
It's wondrous. Josh is the disgruntled employee of the year. He admits that he got fired by Mr. Anderson, but inside this warehouse is exactly what you'd find in an average California frickin' warehouse. You find tires, coffins, a machine gun, all kinds of embalming equipment, top hats, whatever.
I thought the machine gun was hilarious because it was Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Majorettes. I was like, oh boy, here we go. It's going to turn into an action movie at the end.
Oh man, the Majorettes.
Oh boy. One of the freaking immediately creepy things is there's a corpse in one of the coffins. His arm is hanging out and neither of these guys see it. Love that little moment there. But they overhear some chanting and they look down into, they go on like some overlooking rafters or whatever the hell, a balcony of some kind. They look down and sure enough, there's a frickin' what I think is a black mass, a bunch of cloaked figures dancing around a frickin' cauldron. And Mr. Andrews, played by good old Christopher George, is leading this cult. And if you look closely, you'll see good old Lynda Day George. The contribution to cult films by this pair of this married couple cannot be overstated, dude.
No, and two quick things that I wanted to interject. One about the Georges. We just recently finished our complete watch of the UK series from the 70s, Thriller.
Yeah.
And they are in back-to-back episodes as the main star.
Nice.
Lynda Day and then him. And Elizabeth and I, she had many questions and I did too. Like, did they take a vacation to England and that's what they did? Is they were on Thriller and that was their excuse for going, you know? And Elizabeth wondered, maybe in the TV guide over there or the newspaper, she said, I wonder if they promoted it that way, even like real life husband and wife team on back-to-back episodes of Thriller.
Man.
It was really cool.
Lynda Day George of Bastard fame. Greg elects to continue spying on these people while goofy Josh is going to go and make sure the tires are secured.
I had one more thing.
Oh, please.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I had to read to you what Wikipedia says about this entire scene here.
Okay.
It says that Josh, an ex-employee at a local mortuary, sneaks into the mortuary warehouse with Christy's boyfriend Greg, planning to steal tires as compensation for unpaid wages from his boss, Hank Andrews. Now here's the important part. Inside, the two men observe an occult Sabbath, which Josh is impervious to, having been fired for witnessing one before.
He's impervious?
He's impervious to this because he was fired for seeing one before. And I thought, who wrote this? How was he impervious to it?
I
thought that was very interesting.
He can withstand all matters of the occult now because he got fired.
Because he got fired for witnessing the occult Sabbath.
Whatever. I love it. The
ridiculous.
They keep calling it a seance, and I'm like, I don't really see a lot of seance going on there.
No, not in that first one, no.
So Goofy Josh, he goes to secure the tires while Greg spies on these people. He freaking finally notices the body, the arm hanging out of the casket. He opens it up, and inside is this creepy woman staring, presumably dead, it's important, staring completely like a corpse at him. And he goes, Mrs. Andrews? Which I did not catch the first time at all. I was like, what? I didn't know who this woman was for my first viewing. So Josh gets killed by a ghoul, and Greg finds himself locked in, and he has to find a way out. As he's looking for a way out, he sees who he thinks is Josh taking off in his van. He's yelling at him to come back. But we see Josh get skewered by this ghoul, this frickin' like a 1960s horror movie host looking ghoul.
With Pazuzu makeup on.
Oh my God, he's Captain Howdy.
He's Captain Howdy.
That's so good. This disguise will work for a little while, but there's a moment in the movie where they're still trying to retain the mystery of who this character is, which they weren't doing very good at all.
I'm just gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
It's Bill Paxton.
I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is the worst disguised slasher killer in the history of slasher films. I don't hold it against it, right. But there's one scene coming up where, well, I'll say it when we get to it in the plot because I don't want to bumble up your plot.
Oh.
But the first time you see the killer, you're like, it's Bill Paxton.
Especially since the posters didn't really have Bill Paxton featured prominently because in 1983, who the hell was Bill Paxton? He was just an up-and-coming dude. But this DVD, it's got Bill Paxton's name, stamped on the front of it.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah, and, he's 2 years away from being Chet in Weird Science.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And 3 years from being Game Over Man and Aliens. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, this is, his career. It's, goes without saying, gone too soon, but Bill Paxton seems like one of those people that if he died at like 99, people would have still been as upset. He was just a fan favorite of everyone, What a charmer.
Mm-hmm.
We immediately cut to our pal Christy Parson, giving frickin' Greg a ride. She's his girlfriend. And so they're driving around town at night looking for Josh in his van. Like, he stole the van.
Yeah.
So they're driving around looking for it, and then where do they go? They go to the roller rink.
The roller rink.
Two things about this movie. We need more roller rink action, and we're gonna meet some very special people. Brad, you have a name for these kind of people.
I do indeed. If we're on the same wavelength, which I think we are, we're gonna meet some good time Charlies.
Yes, thank God. And this is one of the strangest things about this slasher film is they're like, body count? Nah, we don't need a body count. Let's stay away from all these goofballs. So this is a body count movie, but the opportunities to kill all of these good time Charlies is like, this feels like I stepped into like freaking The Mutilator or something, or Friday the 13th Part 3, or it's so funny. These characters are wonderful. We did not spend enough time with them.
No, we did not.
I was a little confused about the building that the roller rink is in. It's called Ska Ting Plus.
Ska Ting.
I don't know. I was like expecting a ska band to be playing inside.
Right.
The guitars kind of go ting, ting, ting. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
Did you go to a roller rink when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Roller rink, not as often as the bowling alley, but I did go to the roller rink. I was terrible at roller skating. I was like groin pull at like 10. Like, I was so bad. I would hurt myself so bad. I would immediately just take the skates off and go play video games until it was time to go.
Man, I could not turn or brake.
No.
So I hated it.
Oh,
we went.
God.
There was a skating rink on the far side of Tullahoma, Tennessee, where we lived. And we lived in Shelbyville, and we drove there and it's probably a good 40 minutes, I'd say, probably back then. But we drove 40 minutes to the roller rink. My dad hurt his ankle immediately, and we went home. I had a birthday at the roller rink when I was a kid, and which is an odd place to have a birthday when you can't skate, but I did anyway. I love it. Like I've been in this super disco phase lately. I've been listening to a lot of the Bee Gees, a lot of Nile Rodgers stuff, and the comments are like, "This was awesome at the roller rink," and everybody's wanting the roller rink to come back. Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, and it's not a huge negative on the film, but it was a missed opportunity not to have more of those folks at the roller rink in the film.
Exactly. Folks, if you need more skating movie goodness, obviously Skate Town USA or Roller Boogie. Those will meet your needs. They're not horror. They're horrifying in their own ways. So highly recommend those two films. Of course, there's a fat character, the fat one, who Leetta really wanted to know why there has to be an annoying fat character. There can't just be a fat character. Has to be a fat character who is also a total jackass. He informs Greg that he, quote unquote, looks like shit. Like, what happened to you? And when you look at Greg, you're like, what exactly about him looks like shit?
Yeah.
Maybe he looks exasperated because his fucking van got stolen.
Maybe.
What he looks like shit for. So someone makes a joke about the two of them running off, pretending they're looking for Josh, but they really just want to jump in the back seat. Oh, and they were right. The van was totally at the roller rink, but Josh wasn't inside. When they go outside, the van is gone. So this is like the van chasing movie.
Hi, Greg.
You guys seen Josh?
No, he hasn't shown up yet.
Well, he drove my van here and he's got the keys. And he must be here somewhere.
Yeah, well, if we'd been here a while, if he was here, I'd have seen him.
Wait a minute, I thought you were with Josh. Oh, I was. Well, what happened? You know, you look like shit. It's a long story.
You guys gonna stick around or what?
Oh, no, I think I gotta work on my cycling tour.
Yeah, in the back seat.
Get out of here!
But they go park in front of Greg's parents' house, and they start making out, and just like they joked, frickin' Christy is down for some action. She's the one who jumps in the back seat, pulling Greg with her. And his parents interrupt, cock-blocking the scene. And it's so awkward. Greg gets out of the car, goes to his parents, and she takes off. Like they won't know it's her or something.
Exactly.
Oh, Christy, your little ruse did not pay off.
Not at all.
Next day at college, we get our official entrance by Paul, played by Bill Paxton. Oh, man. He obviously has a crush on Christy. This college is very much a beautiful little community college-looking place. He offers a chance to listen to a Mozart record, and I'm like, my head is in my hands, like, oh, Paul. Like,
Paul.
You're so screwed.
He's also carrying a Doors album, which I thought was interesting.
I did not notice that.
1983. Yeah,
that's amazing.
I think he's carrying "Waiting for the Sun." I think is which one it is.
Oh boy. Greg comes up and interrupts the flirting and gives her a kiss, and Paul looks heartbroken when he sees them together. Then two of our good time Charlies come up, and they're like, "What's a Mozart?" Oh, god damn, it's so good.
What the hell's a Mozart?
On her way home, Christy's driving, and she's being harassed by a creepy black station wagon, and she just makes it home in time. And her mother scares her when she goes in the house, and it's Lynda Day George as she's Eve Parson of Adam and Eve fame from the Bible.
Right.
Did not expect that crossover episode to happen.
So I was waiting for something to happen along those lines.
There was definitely some fig leaves, and we needed lots of very healthy, large fig leaves to cover up Lynda Day George.
Mm-hmm.
They start talking about how Christy's been a little wound up since her dad died, and she insists that her father did not die of an accident in this pool, that he was murdered, which, man, she gets a smack. Dude, she gets a frickin' smack because, of course, her mother seems seems to have moved on with her life. Christy believes that there's some inappropriate stuff going on with good old Mr. Andrews, Hank Andrews, the guy who owns the mortuary.
The sheriff investigated. He found no proof whatsoever that your father's death was anything but an accident.
My father was murdered in that pool. I know it.
How do you know it? Because you dreamed it?
You don't care that Daddy's dead, do you? You're probably glad he's dead because of...
Greg is trying to convince the sheriff, or as I wrote in my notes, the sharf.
Sharf?
Every frickin' slasher movie needs a fat sheriff, and we got one. And it comes with a job, all right?
Sure.
It just comes with a job. It's part of the uniform. It's just a little cup that goes over your belly. It's something you take off after hours.
It's a shame that he wasn't fat. You remember when Bleeding Skull had that article on
that's
fat
who I was.
sheriffs?
That's who I was thinking of.
Man, that was awesome.
Oh boy, it just seems to add some kind of weird gravitas to the movie. I don't know what it means.
It really does.
Oh geez. So he's telling the cop about Mr. Andrews having this quote-unquote seance, and Mr. Andrews is not pleased with this. He is so pissed off that they broke into this warehouse and yada, yada, yada. But, of course, nobody believes him, so moving right along. The van, bless the van, has shown up. The van was found at a bus station, so they think Josh just skipped town for no reason. That night, we see Christy in full makeup in bed, where
Elizabeth said the same thing.
So did Leetta. She's like, she's going to get that lipstick all over her pillowcase.
Elizabeth said, she's got all her makeup on. I said, well, maybe she wanted to look good in bed.
Yeah, who doesn't? She's moaning and moaning about Daddy. It's so wrong. It just looks so bad. It doesn't sound good at all. But she gets up. It turns out we have a somnambulist. We got a sleepwalker here.
A cinema somnambulist.
Hey, that's a plug. Booyah. The frickin' URL I used to own. It's still a book. They can't take the book away from me yet.
You still own it in your heart, though.
Not even there. In my butt.
In the butt.
So she's wandering through the house in her very classy nightgown. Mary Beth McDonough is going to keep it classy, folks. She's going to bend over backwards for us by telling her body double to do her nude scenes for her. So it's gonna,
she is.
It's going to be great. Good for her. She's not fooling anybody.
No one.
Man, when I was a kid, I never even crossed my mind. I always assumed that you were seeing the actress naked, and now it's like the veil has been lifted, and I don't really care. It's just funny. I love it.
I could not understand how people kissed each other that weren't married to each other. Like,
I would like to point out that Richard just snorted. Did everyone hear that?
You know?
Little lip lock.
I don't know. Like, heart to heart, they weren't married. Why are they kissing each other? What are they going to tell their significant other? Well, it's for work.
See, and that's the thing. Before COVID, that's all I did at the library.
Was kiss other people's wives?
Leetta knew it's just part of the job.
Just part of the job. I mean, what can you do? Bring it home to bacon.
I'm making tongue sounds because that's what you do in a podcast.
Of course.
Oh, brother. I love
we were on track for a minute, but
we've somehow found the rails again. But I love these scenes of Christy somnambulizing and walking around. It is just so freaking great. There's the ghoul. I almost said a cool ghoul. There's a cool ghoul creeping outside her window. And she wanders right outside, and she wanders up to my favorite thing ever, a swimming pool at night.
Bam.
I'm getting spoiled. There's been a lot of swimming pools at night in these podcast episodes, man.
And there's a seance in this film.
Whew, man.
It's like your two favorite things.
You know, and hey, all we needed was some hypnotism, and I'd be 3 for 3. Loving it. So she continues to walk right into the pool, and she gets completely up to her mouth, and as soon as she chokes on the water, she wakes up, and she has no idea where she is. She jumps out of the pool. feeling very modest, covering herself with her sheer nightgown. And that's when the ghoul scares her by going, Christy! She freaks out, runs inside, and is immediately found by Lynda Day George, her mom, who just straight up doesn't believe her. She almost tells her, you're having a dream. It was a dream before she even asks her if she's okay. Like, she's just, oh my God. She accuses her mother of trying to drive her crazy because Lynda Day George suggests that she sees a therapist or a psychoanalyst or goes to a rest home or something. The next day, this is great. The next day, they're just at the cemetery. This whole sequence where Greg is trying to comfort frickin' Christy, they're at the cemetery, and I almost didn't notice. I don't know what they're doing there.
What's funny is that she gets followed by the black car where the killer's driving, and then at the cemetery, who appears?
Paul.
Exactly. I actually wondered after watching it the second time if they meant for you to know all along who it was.
They knew they couldn't do a mystery, so they said, screw it.
I honestly wondered that.
And then later they said, let's make it a mystery anyway.
Let's do it anyway. What do you say?
Oh boy. So Greg tells Christy, by the way, that was your mom. She was one of the ladies that was dancing around that cauldron with Mr. Andrews. And she's like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, I don't know. You're upset, so I didn't tell you. And as they're having this serious moment, Paul shows up. Paul's there with a bouquet of roses, and he's wearing his very conservatively dressed, his big old nerd. He's always wearing a bow tie or a tie or something. But he's there visiting his mother's grave. Apparently his mother committed suicide, and he very adorably gives Christy a rose. And by adorably, I mean terrifying. But he gives her a rose, and he's so proud of himself for making this, giving this token of his affection, that he skips away.
It was amazing. We watched it twice.
Yeah. You could turn the movie off right here, folks. I don't mean to disparage this movie, but you have seen the pinnacle of human entertainment when he skips away, because they don't make a thing. They don't play kooky music over it. Greg and Christy don't talk about it. It's just something that Bill Paxton did. I don't know if he was directed to do it, but man, he just skips away like Raggedy Ann and Andy motherfucker.
I wrote down, Paxton's run out of cemetery is amazing.
I wrote, tee-hee, I'm so proud. Oh. So yeah, we find out that his mom committed suicide, and he's never been the same since.
Hold on now.
Kids need some help.
Got me?
They need some freedom, too.
Okay, because I'm gone now.
But there's something they don't need. They don't need caffeine. That's why the 7-Up company created this refreshing cola, Like. Like doesn't add caffeine like the leading colas. Like has a satisfying, rich cola taste.
You were terrific.
You really did it.
I did, didn't I?
Like. The taste proves you don't need caffeine, and neither does your cola.
Back at Greg's house, we find out the connection here. Greg's dad owns a florist, and they provide flowers to the mortuary. So even though there's been all this tension between Greg and Mr. Andrews because of the break-in, he has to go and take a big floral dealie over to the mortuary. And
Did you see the name of the mortuary?
What is it?
Heaven's Gate.
Oh, no.
Which Elizabeth remarked, no one's naming a mortuary that now.
Never again. Not for the end until the end of human history. Oh, good call. I did not notice that. Wow. Christopher George as a sleazy frickin' he's not so much sleazy. Like, I don't think he's trying to rip these people off at his mortuary. He's just giving them the options like a frickin' car salesman would. It reminded me
they're
of
loving it.
Oh, he's so good, dude. It makes me laugh.
Eat it up.
He's being really crazy. It reminded me of the frickin' the funeral home directors convention in Four Flies and Grey Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man! But he offers cremation. He's offering these people these crazy expensive coffins, and he's like, "Well, yo, I'll burn you." And I'm like,
I'll burn you.
That's nice.
Yeah, cost effective.
Paul pulls Greg aside as he's leaving. After he gets the precious signature for the flowers. He wants to talk to Greg, so he pulls him into the strangest scene where Paul is working on a corpse. A beautiful young lady has died, and he insists on revealing her entire naked body. Here comes your exploitation trashiness.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to work on her, and they have a talk. Paul he reveals that he's the emo embalmer.
Oh boy.
That working for his father has ruined his social life. He can't get a girl and no one likes him because he embalms. And then he starts explaining how this whole process works, and his dad freaks out and yells at him and kicks Greg out. And then the scene gets weirder, Brad.
It does.
It gets so awkward. So his dad's chastising him, and they start to work on this girl's body, this poor dead girl. Greg won't leave. Greg is sticking his head in the door like the most obvious thing ever. Why won't Greg leave? What is the point of this scene?
I mean, the original point was probably to show that Paul's a weirdo and knows it, but I don't know.
It's so weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, and then of course Mr. Andrews has to yell at Greg again to get the hell out of there, and I just don't I just don't understand.
I hate being an embalmer. Nobody wants to date me. They all think I'm weird.
And why do you do it?
My father wants me to.
What the hell's going on in here? No one's allowed in here, you know that.
Aren't you finished yet?
Step aside, we haven't got all day. You haven't even aspirated her yet. What are you waiting for? Get out of here before I embalm you.
Greg and Christy head back to her house, which I forgot to say how much I love her freaking house. Like, Lynda Day George, I want to believe in my heart that she's the one who did the interior design on this house, because I just love this freaking house. All the furniture, just 70s. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So she and Greg are hanging at the house, and they're studying. And then the freaking power comes on, because when they get there, the lights won't work. So they're lighting candles, lighting a fire, goofing off. When the lights come back on, the disco music cranks out. Like just what? I always love how corny disco seemed by the early 80s, like it was already a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just turning off the stereo, Chrissy's like, let's dance. And so they immediately start dancing. And then the lights go off and the stereo goes off, and it keeps going off and on and off and on. And it's really jarring. The music just keeps blasting on and off. And I'm like, turn the stereo off.
That's what I kept saying.
Wouldn't that be your priority?
Turn it off. Yes, turn it off.
God, it's so funny. Oh man, but the music is totally bitchin'. I love it. I'm not disparaging it. Of course, they go to call to report the power problems, and the phone is dead. And then they hear someone at the door. It sounds like someone's trying to break in. So she grabs a butcher knife. He grabs a frickin' fire poker or whatever. And then it's Mom. And she's pissed at them because they were going to kill her as soon as she set foot in the door. Oh man, Lynda Day George can do no wrong. But the next day they get inspired. They say, hey, let's follow her because she's been spending time with this Mr. Andrews. They're canoodling. So they follow her and they see her and Mr. Andrews talking to the sheriff. So now they're starting to think the sheriff is in on this conspiracy too. But then they see that black station wagon, the one that chased Christy home. And Greg's like, yeah, that's from the mortuary. Dun, dun, dun. They follow them back to the warehouse, and we get our actual seance finally. So they've got everyone's at the table, everyone's touching hands, they making the circle. They're all in their cloaks trying to contact the dead. And dude, it's so amazing. The table starts rocking, and oh man, I'm laughing because I just can't stop thinking that it's Christopher George's penis is moving the table. Were you thinking that too? Don't say no.
I am now.
Okay. So also at the mortuary or in this warehouse, we see the ghoulish character working on someone.
What's going on here?
Oh, so at the seance, the revelation is they're trying to communicate with George. George is Christy's dad and Lynda Day George's dead husband. So they're trying to talk to George, and they're trying to find out who killed him. So they're finally finding out that, yes, it was not an accident. He was murdered. But before he can reveal the killer, they lose contact. While they're spying, Paul spots them, and he's like, hey, guys. And they're like, oh, hi, Paul. And then they leave. And nothing happens. You know, they just leave. They go back to the house, and, Brad, it's time for some sexy shenanigans, or as I like to call it on Hello, This is the Doom Show, making the sex act.
You do like to say that.
I do. And I wrote in my notes, oh, hi, body double. This body double is fearless, all right? She, like, man, my brain was for a second, I was like, whoa. No, she did not. No. Mary Beth McDonough did not get naked. She called in a ringer. And they even do that thing where they do the close-up of her and Greg's face while they're talking and then back up to her, like, straddling him.
Amazing.
While they're having the sex act, Christy sees that the entire house is littered with pictures of her dead father, and it just takes her out of the mood. They argue. Luckily, Greg isn't an asshole about it. He's just, a little frustrated. And as soon as he goes to leave, when she goes up to bed, that's when Lynda Day George comes home. And man, oh man, she would have caught them. It would have been a different kind of bad. This time, sorry, I'm laughing at my stupid jokes. Christy's having another nightmare, and she sees her father in the pool, and I wrote, Dad's a floater.
Uh-oh.
So this time, she's sleepwalking while carrying a butcher knife. She's armed. She's ready. She goes to the window because she can't get out of the house. And this time our friendly ghoul, who this is the scene where it is so obviously Bill Paxton's character. The ghoul's like, Christy, hey, could you open the window? But he says,
you're so beautiful.
He says in the worst way. It's so creepy. I don't want to harm you. I just want to touch you. It's like, oh no. So instead of opening the window in the most awesome thing ever, she tries to stab him, just punches through the window with her freaking knife. Psh, oh, it's a good scene.
It's good stuff now.
And in slow motion to boot. And that, that fake glass, oh, it just moves so good. Mom comes down and she's in her nightgown, and I said, wow, thank you.
Appreciate it.
She straight up tells Christy after calming her down, so who was the ghoul? And she's like, I don't know. I just saw his eyes. She goes, was it Paul?
Oh boy.
The mystery of the whole parents not believing you has finally been abandoned. Every movie has the people who just won't believe the person until the last reel, the last second, until it's too late. Here we almost have hope. Mom's like, oh yeah, Paul's obsessed with you after, your dad died because he recommended, he was in love with you and your dad tried to stop him from being in love with you. And Paul asked to marry her. And his dad's like, nah, dog, you should get some help. And that's what got frickin' Daddy George killed. Not to be confused with Christopher George.
Yeah, not Big Daddy George.
Hey.
Daddy George.
They have a drink together. They have some frickin' bourbon or something. Great.
Brandy.
Fabulous bonding. Oh, was it brandy? Oh, man.
Thought it was brandy. Yeah, she's like, you want some brandy?
Oh, God. I was hoping they were drinking some old scooch.
Well, when you have a fright like that, that's what you do, so you don't get the vapors. You have some brandy, and if you're rich, you go to the seaside.
Yep. Oh, and they live at the seaside. They're already there.
So.
So, Mom is trying to go to sleep, and there's a creepy shadow passing over her window over and over and over and over. Man, it's just like, wake up, you're in mortal danger. The ghoul bursts in, and man, Lynda Day George gets stabbed to death.
Yes, and I thought, Elizabeth and I both really thought that he was going to be in bed beside of her.
Yeah, what was going on?
Because there was I don't know. It was some misdirection.
Yep.
But then they drew out the window for a while. So, I mean, it worked because I thought he was going to be beside of her and he wasn't.
Yeah, it was really good. I like that.
It was good.
So Christy hears her mom, sees that she's been killed, and she runs away. We have the whole chase sequence. Christy tries to hide, and then she thinks she's safe and goes back to the house. Huge mistake. Huge. Paul gets her. He knocks her unconscious. And we got to get back to those good time Charlies, man. We got to go back to the roller rink.
Mm-hmm.
So Greg is hanging out with this crew, which, folks, we have not identified these people because this is their second and final scene.
Right.
You'd think they were going to all gang up together and get all... Nope, they're not going to get nothing. But they are trying to encourage frickin' Greg to get his guitar and go serenade Christy because of their little argument there over sex. And because she's not answering her phone. So they're trying to get him to frickin' go over there. It's just very silly. He leaves to go to see Christy, and while he's out, he sees Paul in the frickin' black station wagon with some... This is so great. Paul has taken Christy, unconscious, and the mom back to the house. So they all go to this mortuary together. And this is when Paul starts to reveal his plan that he's going to embalm Christy while she's alive. So she'll last a really long time. In the creepiest lines ever, he's like, "I'm going to embalm you, and it won't hurt." Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah.
And say what you will about Paul, he's got a great bedside manner. I completely trust him.
I mean, I trust him with my life.
There's a delicate balance to this. You've got to add just the right amount of mixture. It's like being a good cook. It will be my best work, I promise. Because I love you. This way we'll be together forever. Don't you understand? No one will ever take you away from me.
We get more body double action. We get more full frontal nudity on the slab here. But it is so not Mary Beth McDonough again. Greg is snooping around trying to get inside and he can't get inside. And that's when Mr. Andrews comes home. So another misdirection is you really think that Mr. Andrews is a bad character. That up until the last moment, you're really thinking that he and Paul are in on it somehow together. That there's some actual conspiracy or whatever. But no, Dad is pissed. He is so pissed off. He catches on to Paul's bullshit immediately with a big confrontation, the big confession when we find out what's really been going on this whole time. And Dad tries to reason with him even after he sees the body of Christy's mom on the other slab, and he tries to reason with him, but it is too little, too late, because Paul stabs the living balls out of his father.
Wow.
Oh boy. Meanwhile, Greg is sneaking around. We get some great lighting in the casket display room. It's so beautiful. Paul finally confronts Greg. And he is terrified of Paul, as he should be, because Paul has a huge this weapon that is also for embalming purposes.
The trocar.
Is that what that's called?
What it's called. Yeah, trocar. They use it in embalming. They use it in surgery. It can be used as a tool. It kind of makes it's inserted in a hole, and you could put medical tools through it, such as scissors or whatnot.
Oh man. Nice.
It's a trocar is what they call it.
Trocar. Greg gets locked in a room, which is not good because, Paul should not have locked him in there because there's a freaking axe and a bunch of other weapons. But Paul makes his getaway with Christy and more. He's got his dad's body. He's got Christy's mom's body and Christy. He takes off, leaving Greg there. And of course, Greg just assumes he's going back to the warehouse. And then we get Bill Paxton's big scene in the movie, his freaking, his Oscar moment. He's got dead Josh, all these dead bodies. He's got his dead mom, quote unquote dead mom, which is important. He is cranking the Mozarts and he is conducting. He's got
Yeah, he is.
frickin' Christy in a wedding dress, in his mother's wedding dress, no less. His plan is to marry her after he embalms her. Oh, man. My favorite thing is that his mom's eyes are still open, and she looks so nonplussed. Like,
yeah,
she does not look pleased to be there. It's so awesome. I love this.
Now you will be mine forever. Paul! What have you done to her? You've harmed her. Shh! You'll wake her up. She's sleeping. You killed her. I was going to come and get you, bring you here to join the party, but I'm glad you came. I want you to meet some of my guests. You remember my mother? And you know the rest of them. Please, Greg, have a seat. The bride will be embalmed soon, and then we can start the wedding ceremony.
Let's talk about this, because his mom is actually alive, ladies and gentlemen. Spoilers. Real quick, this is Mrs. Andrews, played by Donna Garrett, who was a stunt woman. Very prolific stunt woman. 72 credits between the mid-60s all the way up through... So basically, she had a 30-year career as a stunt woman. She acted very little, but this is one of her acting gigs. We're going to find out that Paul's been saying this whole time that his mom faked her death. She faked her death. She actually wasn't dead.
Yep.
Apparently she was insane as well. I don't remember what it was about her, why she was insane. I don't remember if they said anything. Greg and Paul battle. Of course, Paul kicks Greg in the balls and he loses the axe, but he remembers that M16, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Chekhov's M16. And he starts shooting, and of course it has blanks in it, and Bill Paxton, ha ha ha, blanks, you idiot. Christy, who's been on the slab in the wedding dress the whole time, she wakes up, gets the axe, and she chops frickin' Paul in the back. Bam. Saves the day. And of course I was thinking of that movie, The Bride, aka The Last House on Massacre Street. I love horror movies with women in their frickin' bridal gowns. So now we got more things I love in horror movies. I'm so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
They kill Paul. Poor nerdy Paul, but just loved Mozart too much, and The Doors apparently. He loved Jim Morrison too much. And then he dies, but just as Greg is comforting Christy, that's when Mom springs up with her knife. She screams, we get a freeze frame in the end of the movie. Man.
So good.
Whew. This movie, boy. So we got a couple more credits. Some technical people here, some technologists. This was shot by Gary Graver.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 227 cinematography credits. He's working up until 2006 when he passed away. But a few movies he filmed scenes for are still coming out. So people are using his footage in their like flashbacks in movies.
Wow.
But yeah, he was amazing. We talked about him, Simon and I talked about him on the Trick or Treats episode.
Really?
Much love for Trick or Treats. It's the Halloween movie that no one gives a crap about.
He worked for Orson Welles. That's where I knew him from.
Yes. Other credits he shot Twisted Nightmare. He shot the aforementioned Trick or Treats. He shot The Attic, which I really like very much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a really cool dude. And he was not just a cinematographer. He was also a director. Wow, I gotta scroll forever here. So much scrolling to do.
Mm-hmm.
But oh yeah, he also directed Trick or Treats. Man, he's just...
Did he really?
Yeah, I just love this
nice.
guy. The music score is by John... I'm going to mispronounce this dude's name, even though I heard him say it. Kakavas? Or Kakavas? Very prolific composer. 80 credits. He passed away in 2014. There's an interview with him on the disc, on the Scorpion disc, and I'm glad the interview exists, but it was almost unwatchable.
Really?
It's just slapdash. They didn't even have him in focus. He's out of focus. The lighting is nice, but you're squinting to see him. And then he got a little confused by the interviewer's questions. But instead of like having the interviewer questions in text on screen, they keep leaving the camera rolling, and you can hear the interviewer just talking, muffled, asking him questions. And it just is not good. It wasn't well conducted, and then they didn't edit it right. And I have a pet peeve, Brad. Are you ready for this?
I believe so.
Folks who make DVDs, folks who make Blu-rays, I love you. Thank you. Folks of you who work on the extras on these movies, I love you. Thank you. However, I have a question. When I get done watching an 1.5 or 2 hour movie, I don't want to watch more clips of the movie in interviews. Why do all interviews about the movie I just watched feature clips from the movies I just watched? They always do that to remind you of the movie you just watched.
It's true.
I don't understand this, and it's always like this extra would be like 5 minutes long, but instead they're going to stretch it out to 10 to 15 minutes with clips from the movie. Wish they would stop doing that.
I gotcha.
It's not, I don't want the extras to stop.
Right.
But anyway, this guy's a very prolific composer, as I was saying. Did a lot of TV work, which explains why, for me, this movie feels like a TV movie. It's definitely a classy score. I don't remember synthesizer in this one. I want to say it's all strings.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So you'd think a cheap horror movie, although I don't think this movie looks very cheap, that a cheap horror movie would have more synthesizer in it. And I hate to say it, I wanted some, but hey, who am I to turn down a classy orchestral score, right?
It's true.
Did you have any other trivia, any behind the scenes good stuff here?
Honestly, a lot of it we covered as you were going through. Something interesting that the Wikipedia page nor the IMDb page mentions, but it does mention on Christopher George's Wikipedia page, is that this was filmed in 1981. It wasn't released until 83. So it would have been filmed in that famed year of the slasher, 1981.
Oh, wow.
If you click on his Wikipedia page and you go down to his acting career, post-Rat Patrol, it says one of his last film roles was a supporting role in the horror film Mortuary, released in September of 1983. It was actually filmed in 1981, more than 2 years prior to his death.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot that he died so early. Jeez.
Yeah, this was his last published role. But no, we covered She Had a Body Double.
That's in the trivia. I see it now. Boy, what a revelation I had, huh?
I'm telling you. Something about this film that I find interesting is that I went to watch it, and I'd seen it before. And I knew I had because I remembered. And in my mind, it's always been the one where Bill Paxton is clearly the killer from the jump. I couldn't find it. And I know it was a download because I watched it before the DVD came out or the Blu-ray.
Right.
I don't know where it went. It's very odd. I didn't have a burn disc. I didn't have a file. So you were already watching it to take notes, and I'm like, shit, he's gonna kill me. This is me not reading the email all over again. And
that damn email.
There's a DVD. Of course, it would have taken 2 days to get here, so that pretty much shut down us recording this week.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth said, is it streaming? And I looked, and it was, and we were able to. We had not streamed anything this month, so I had the data available to do it.
Nice.
It looked great. I think it is, while not on par with Happy Birthday to Me or The Prowler or things like that, it's certainly still within that vein, and I would consider it of the classic slasher films, that era that people commonly say ended with The Initiation. It looks very good. It's fun. You covered a lot of the things that I really enjoy. The design of the house where they live is really neat.
Oh, yeah.
The little glimpses at the roller rink. Bill Paxton is doing some operatic acting in it. He's still got quite a bit of his Texan accent. That comes through. He's very much different than he was 2 years later with Weird Science or 3 years later with Alien. He's very good where he skips off in the cemetery and where he's like, Christy, you're beautiful. I don't want to harm you. He was actually in another slasher, I think the same year, Night Warning. Have you seen that?
Does that have an extra? Does that have an alternate title? Butcher Baker,
Is it the
Nightmare Maker?
Butcher Baker? Yes.
Okay. I have still not seen that. I understand that's a good one.
It is a good one. Damn. Now, I think probably the only black mark against it these days, there's a character that's pretty homophobic. But he's certainly not the hero of the film.
It must be the early 80s.
So, yeah. It's a very entertaining film, but he's in that as well. Something I learned today that I do not think I knew, and that is that Bill Paxton was part of a new wave band named Martini Ranch that did an album that was produced by Devo's Bob Casale.
What?
Yeah, and they did some videos, and it bears looking into.
Oh, I am going to jump all over this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I also think that in the same vein, where Melissa Sue Anderson was kind of trying to break out of the good girl Little House on the Prairie with Happy Birthday to Me, Mary McDonough was trying to kind of break out of the good girl Waltons and did this, which is interesting because she did not do the nude scenes, which also, like you said, is neither here nor there.
Right.
But it always, in the years, it's been 9 years since I'd seen it, but I'd always kind of put it in that same Happy Birthday to Me vein with her being a star from a huge family show, but it also has one of my favorite slasher tropes, the Oingo Boingo Dead Man's Party at the end, where all the dead characters that have been dispatched during the film are gathered together in one place. You know, in this one you've got the dad, Lynda Day George, Josh. That also happens in Happy Birthday to Me. That also happens in Madhouse, which is AKA There Was a Little Girl.
Yeah, I love that.
It's one of my favorite, slasher tropes.
Oh, yeah. Funnily enough, my experience of this movie, I mixed it up with two other films. So I used to think this was Mausoleum.
Yes, I've done the same thing.
Yes. And why have I still not seen Mausoleum? Because I read somewhere that it was censored, that the print was cut, that they had never released an uncut version of Mausoleum because the MPAA asked for some cuts and then those trimmed footage got lost or something. One of those, a very old story we've heard time and time again. So I just wanted to wait until Mausoleum was uncut. I don't even know if it is. I haven't seen it still.
Say, oddly enough, our Big Vinegar Syndrome order shipped on Monday, and we did indeed buy Mausoleum, which I have not seen.
Oh, you'll have to let me know. I finally purchased it. I actually have Mausoleum on DVD. I just got it eventually. I just still haven't watched it. So I was avoiding Mortuary because I thought it was Mausoleum. The other film that I mix up is Funeral Home.
Really?
Which I've actually
Makes
seen.
Sense. Right.
So I didn't like Funeral Home, but I have a feeling that it's going to be if you know it, I know Brad's going to know this one, a hearse situation where I hated the hearse and then years later loved the hearse. I famously said that I'd rather throw myself down a flight of stairs than ever watch the hearse again.
Right.
Many people were encouraging me to, dude, watch it again. I've done this before. That's why I don't really go with my knee-jerk reaction to films, because I always come back later and find my tastes have changed. Norman J. Warren's Terror. Hated it the first time. Hated it. And now I love it so much.
That's a favorite.
Yeah. So
I thought you were going to say everyone was encouraging me, dude, throw yourself down a flight of stairs.
Look, most of the time people are encouraging me to self-harm in some way to put them out of my misery.
I also confused this with Mausoleum, but years ago I also confused it with One Dark Night, which is what I thought
very
you
similar
might say
film.
when you said, yeah, Madame Mortuary, or
That's so we've done One Dark Night now too, so we'll get around to all of these films we confuse with other films and straighten them out.
Exactly.
So my first viewing of Mortuary was when I finally picked up the Scorpion DVD, and I really enjoyed it. It didn't hit me quite as much as it did this viewing. I was excited when Mark picked it because I was eager to revisit it, but I figured it'd be like, yeah, all right. But no, I love frickin' Mortuary. It's got great. That TV horror feel. Gary Graver's involved. Frickin' Mary Beth McDonough. Leanne and I will talk about her in the Burnt Offerings episode coming soon.
Richard means Midnight Offerings. This guy is really annoying on this episode.
And it's just I just love this era. I was really glad that you brought up how it was filmed in 81 and then shelved because of the glut of horror movies. Oh, excuse me, of slasher movies. And then they tried to fool people by making it into a zombie movie with the Michael Berryman trailer.
Yes.
It just goes to show you, folks, like, when you have a subgenre of something that gets overblown, like, I don't know, found footage, where you just flood the market with the same thing, people get burned out, and then you got a movie you can't release. It sucks for the people involved. But, highly recommend Mortuary if you haven't seen it. If you got this far in our episode, hopefully you're a fan.
Yes.
If you were a fan of us when this started, I know you're not now because of my presence on the show. I'm sorry.
Your gifts.
Haha. But folks, we're not quite done yet. We have something that I am excited about. I challenged Brad to, I think we started with the top 3, then it exploded into a top 5. We're going to talk about top 5 slasher movies released in 1983. What year were they filmed? Doesn't matter, as long as they were released in 1983.
Well, I'd like to start by saying that 1983 is a tough year for slashers. Yeah. It is the only year of the entire decade of the 1980s that there was no Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or Halloween film released.
Yeah.
So, my number 5 is a movie you might have heard of. It's called Mortuary.
Yes.
Please tune in to what you've just listened to for my exclusive thoughts on Mortuary.
I was going to go remix, but it's not. It's rewind. Or just flip back the pages to the Time Life book series on this one. I foolishly left Mortuary off my top 5, even though it totally is awesome. So I should have made it my number 2 times. But no, my number 5 is Blood Rage.
Blood Rage.
That's not cranberry sauce. What is your number 4, sir?
My number 4 is a film that was also not actually filmed in 1983. It's a little film called Curtains.
Nice.
With John Vernon, Samantha Egger, etc., etc. It's a very good slasher film that finally got a good release. I don't know, what, 3-4 years ago, something like that.
Dude, somebody said on Facebook that Curtains is the worst slasher movie they'd ever seen.
Really?
And I was like, okay, I'm going to need a list of every slasher movie you've ever seen.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, boy. My number 4 is Sleepaway Camp.
Nice.
Which I really hope all of mine were actually 83. Hopefully I wasn't misled. Because Sleepaway Camp, man, that just doesn't feel like 83 to me, but it's 83 all right.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've discussed this before, I think, on the show. Maybe even the last episode we did, is that Leetta and Elizabeth are both huge fans of Sleepaway Camp.
Yes. It's a film for the ladies.
Apparently so. I do love it.
What is your number 3, sir?
My number 3 is Sweet 16.
Yes. Nice.
It is a great little slasher film. I've got the, I guess the 88 Films Blu-ray from the England.
Ooh.
But yeah, no, I think it's a great, underrated little slasher film.
I am way overdue for a rewatch of Sweet 16, man.
Man, it's good stuff.
So, my number 3, The Mutilator, also known as...
The Mutilator.
Fall Break.
Fall Break.
Richard is using the Hysteria Lives website for his list. The Mutilator is actually from 1984. Soon, he will notice his idiocy.
I love.
I'm overdue for a rewatch of that.
Yeah, it just wow, and seeing it in all of its gory glory. I mean, it just is. It and Blood Rage have some of the most jaw-dropping gore. After all the horror movies I've sat through over the years I've been doing this shit, those two movies still pack a punch. They really went for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're getting to our tops. What's your top two? Or what's your second two? Whatever. I forgot how we're doing.
Right. My number 2 is Psycho 2.
Oh, nice.
Directed by Richard Franklin. If you have not seen Psycho 2 for whatever reason, don't sleep on it because it is a great slasher film.
Yeah.
Directed by the wonderful Richard Franklin, who was a Hitchcock acolyte.
Nice.
It is a very, very good movie. And it's got your boy, your man, Osgood Perkins in a cameo role as a child.
Dude, I haven't seen that since it was on broadcast TV as a kid, and it scared the shit out of me.
It's so good.
The first Psycho I thought was a good movie as a kid. It did not scare me. Psycho 2, because it was a contemporary 80s film for my age, and it freaked me out so bad. I did what the main character does, where she brings a chair into the bathroom to brace against the door. I think I'm remembering that right. I actually started doing that to lock myself in the bathroom, and I would shower staring at the frickin' door to make sure it wasn't going to open.
Wow. It sounds like it really made an impression on you.
Yes, and I just haven't watched it because it was one of those things where my favorite movie of all time is the Psycho remake, Gus Van Sant's.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In Bizarro Land. No, I saw it in theaters though. What an experience!
I did too.
Hi,
I saw it in the theater.
My name's Psycho Sister. I work at the independent record store. Whatever the line is. I've been trying to find that line on the movie to sample it, but no one has that whole movie online. Just her talking about that independent record store, man, that blows my mind. My number 2 is Curtains.
Ooh.
Whew, boy, speaking of movies I don't watch enough that just hit all those frickin' marks, it's like cold and creepy. People are like, it only has that one good scene, and I'm like, I hate the internet. Fuck.
Don't you?
Yeah, Curtains is great.
Curtains is great.
So before we get to your number 1, sir, I want to mention 2 films that almost made my list. I guess 3 if you throw in Mortuary. I had 2 little runners-up. I had Sweet 16, the aforementioned Sweet 16.
Nice.
And a film that is so much better than it has any right to be. I don't understand this film at all. Ladies and gentlemen, Mountaintop Motel Massacre.
Nice.
I had no expectations other than bad ones when I picked that one up. Just to finally picked up that old DVD. I forget. It might be an Anchor Bay. I forget. I just grabbed it just to, have it for completist's sake. And I'll be damned if it wasn't an entertaining, wacky little film.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, we watched that on a VHS rip download that was just terrible, but you could tell something special was happening. Yep. So when Vinegar Syndrome came out with the Blu-ray, I bought it.
Nice.
And you're absolutely right. That's a unique little fun off-kilter slasher.
Yep. I'm so glad you like that one. That's great.
Yes, I do.
Did you have any runners up, or are you just ready to drop your number 1? You're like, I had a tough time making this list.
I did. It's true. 83 is a tough year.
It is. What is your number 1, dude?
My number 1 is House on Sorority Row.
Oh, man.
Which we recently rewatched.
Oh, my God.
And I was blown away.
I'm typing because I did not know what year that was.
Well, let's hope it's 1983.
Okay, so it says 82 on IMDb, but
I looked at, when you type in 1983 slashers, you get an IMDb list.
What?
And on that IMDb list is...
Damn. It was
House on Sorority Row.
Those bastards. It says November, so yes, it was basically 1983. Because I would have had
now
that.
It says,
that would have been on my list.
Well, let me throw in a
spare.
A spare, because they have done me wrong.
You got cheated.
And, I did.
Now the internet has wronged our beloved Brad. Someone will pay for this.
I'm looking, and I want to see what IMDb says, damn it.
I like Double Exposure, but it says 82. Why is it on a list of 1983 slasher films? Yeah. I don't know. It's I consider it more giallo, but they list a Blade in the Dark.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I didn't put it on there because I really consider it a giallo, really. But
I've been holding out with Double Exposure. I've been keeping. Okay, here's the thing. Here you go. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
On IMDb's release dates for House on Sorority Row, limited release November 82. Then it says second release United States, Los Angeles, California, January of 83. Then South Korea, Australia, both had it in 83. So it is, I think, technically 83. It bears mentioning because...
How do we know she is alive?
What do you think, she floated out that pool?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I guess if I could throw in another one, I'd throw in Deadly Lessons, which is a TV movie, which means there's no gore or nudity, but it's a fun slasher.
I want to say...
that I like.
I'm looking at that. I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, let me look here. Bill Paxton is actually in Deadly Lessons from 83. He had a very busy 83.
You still there?
Yes.
Oh my god, I heard a terrible ruckus.
Here?
Yeah, it sounded like you dropped your phone or something.
No.
That was weird.
I didn't.
That's why I was like, hello? So
no.
I got screwed too because my number one is supposedly 84 now.
Why does this keep crappening? Fuck. Shit. Dicks. Darn it. Heck. Gosh darn it. Richard eats poopy. Please kill him.
God, we got screwed on this. That's so irritating. My
83 is tough.
My number one was going to be The Initiation, but it says 84, and some dumbass list has it on 83. Man, folks at home, this is what happens when you try to do your research. You get conflicting information from everybody. Yeah,
we've totally let Mark down with this.
I have no excuse for mine. Mine doesn't say 83 anywhere. I don't even know where I got. So just pretend I said, either Mountaintop Motel Massacre or Sweet 16 is my number one. Just pretend I did that.
Well, let me ask you. We haven't done The Initiation. Have you done The Initiation with anybody else?
I wish you and I had done an episode on The Initiation at some point. That would make my dreams come true.
We certainly can. I do know that Simon is a big fan of The Initiation as well.
Okay, now, Brad, I have to ask you a serious question right now.
Okay.
You do know we did that movie, right?
Did we really? I mean, I thought we did.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were messing with me, so I thought I'd carry the joke.
No, I never mess with you. I don't know what
You should mess with me.
What I've done.
In your defense, it was like 50 episodes ago. Episode 153, we did The Initiation.
Wow. Well, I do have that nice Blu-ray.
Yeah. We'll do Initiation 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Exactly. Exactly. I never know what you're going to come out with. Like, you're like Brad.
Did you read that email?
Did you read that email, idiot?
Do you own a copy of the film we're going to talk about?
So I'm just going to go ahead and tell the folks that are listening because I've mentioned it twice. But Richard sent me emails of people that had sent stuff in for episode 200, and he's like, here's all the emails we got and all the questions people asked. Go ahead, read those emails and write down your answers and have them ready to record when we record episode 200, which is a milestone and very important. And we got ready to record, and he said, and Richard said, do you have your answers handy? And I said,
No.
What? No. And you said, oh, I mean, do you know the answer? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I sent you an email, and I said, well, hell, I didn't read that email. Which, portrays me in a very poor light.
No. Hey, you do not live and die by your email, my friend. So it was not a problem. We just reconvened the next night and got it on.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And plus it was during the pretty much where everybody was locked down at home. And since we don't have really the internet here, I had turned my notifications off.
Yeah.
On my Gmail. So I would have to go look, and I just didn't. And I'm like, oh, I got off the phone with Richard, and I'm like, boy, he is going to be mad at me. I didn't even read that email.
Oh, boy.
That's some behind the scenes look at episode 200.
Hey, I did you a service because when you opened your email, you saw that you had inherited a fortune from a relative you didn't know you had with an offshore account, and all they need is your social security number, and now
That's true.
You're independently wealthy. So
I am independently wealthy now, thanks to Uncle George, who died unexpectedly in that horrible car crash.
Oh my God.
But luckily, his lawyer knew who to call, and that was you. Knew who to call you.
They didn't call Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Not this time.
This has been a lot of fun.
Hell yeah,
I've
dude.
enjoyed myself tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out again to our buddy Mark for hooking us up and picking something awesome to talk about. We have some more Mark programmed episodes. The show's now called Hello, This is Mark's Show.
I think we've got something going to come up from Ted.
Yeah, got great. Man, and folks, just write in. If you don't have to financially contribute. If you want us to talk about something, if we haven't already done it, please write in. Let us know. DoomedMovieThon@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered movies I wanted to cover, and I've never given it a dime.
We have lists. We have so many lists over the years between Simon, Jeffrey, Brad, and I. We have all these lists going that we have abandoned entire lists. Just like, okay, we've had this list of stuff we're going to cover for like 6 years. Let's start fresh because we like making lists, and we'll ditch the old list to start a new list.
Absolutely.
Oh, but hey, no, this was great. So thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for being there.
I'm just glad that we bought our frickin' matching Lynda Day George nightgowns to the plunging necklines to get in the spirit of the show.
The only thing, it doesn't give you much defense against the trocar, but I mean, what can you do?
It gives you defense against frickin' Mozart records.
Yeah, and even some Doors records.
What's a Mozart? Oh, next movie, hopefully we have some Good Time Charlies that get axed.
Man, there's nothing like a Good Time Charlie.
Folks, thanks for listening, and
thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Hello, This is the Doom Show is a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. Please check out the other podcasts on legionpodcasts.com. If you'd like more Hello, This is the Doom Show, go to hellodoomshow.podomatic.com or go to doomedmoviethon.com for the archives. If that's still not enough, go to @DoomedMovieThon on Twitter. You can write in to Hello, This is the Doom Show. Use the email doomedmoviethon@gmail.com. Doom Show episodes are available on record and 8-track cassette.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Ghost Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.